Picture this. A young woman stands trembling in the palace corridors. Tears stream down her face. The candles flicker against stone walls. And then, the 70-year-old king leans close. He whispers something in her ear. Something that shatters everything she thought she knew about herself. But wait, how did we get here? If you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever been trapped by choices that weren't yours, this story will heal something deep in your soul. Hit that like button right now, because what you're about to witness is a transformation so beautiful, it'll give you chills. So here's what happened. She never wanted this marriage. He never wanted to love again. But sometimes, the heart writes its own rules. Let me take you back to where it all began. Picture 15th century royal courts, candlelit chambers, arranged marriages as political tools. Women are valued as alliances, not human beings. In this world, a young woman's voice meant nothing. Her dreams, even less. But this woman, she's different. She carries a secret so dangerous, she burns evidence of it every single night. And this king, this powerful man, everyone fears. He's drowning in loneliness, so deep, it's killing him slowly. Neither knows. They're about to save each other. What he confesses to her in that moment will change how you see love forever. The secret he's carried for decades. The promise that's been slowly destroying him. And the choice that requires more courage than ruling a kingdom. Stay with me until the end, because his final revelation will leave you sobbing. The good kind of sobbing. The kind that reminds you, love really can conquer everything. You won't believe how this ends. Trust me. She's about to discover strength she never knew existed. He's about to learn that protecting your heart can become its own prison. And together, they're about to prove that real love doesn't just find us. It transforms us. Are you ready? Because this journey, it's going to wreck you in the most beautiful way. The woman crying in those corridors, she's not who you think she is. The king whispered that secret. He's breaking a vow he's kept for 30 years. And what happens next will show you that courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is choosing love when everything inside you screams to run. Let's go back to the beginning of their impossible story. Comment below if you believe people can transform. Because what you're about to see is two souls becoming everything they were meant to be, even when the world told them it was impossible. And guys, this community always understands that the best love stories aren't about finding someone perfect. They're about two broken people learning to be whole together. The tears she's crying right now, they're not just from heartbreak. They're from finally being seen. The words he's whispering, they're not just confessions. They're the key to both their prison. But first, let me show you her world. The world that taught her she didn't matter. Meet Isabella, though that's not her real name. She's the youngest daughter of a lesser noble house. The overlooked one. The one who smiles at royal banquets, while feeling completely invisible. Her older sisters shine like jewels. They command attention. They know their worth. Isabella? She sketches maps in hidden corners. Dreams of places beyond castle walls. And every night, she performs the same heartbreaking ritual. She burns a letter. Not just any letter, a letter with her true name. Her real identity. The secret that could destroy everything. Can you imagine living your entire life as someone you're not? Smiling when your heart is breaking, pretending you belong, when you know you're an imposter. That's Isabella's world. Her mother abandoned her when she was 7. Just left. No explanation. No goodbye. Isabella learned early. People disappear. Love isn't permanent. And the safest way to survive is to become so small, no one notices when you're gone. But here's the thing about Isabella. Beneath that quiet exterior lives a spirit that refuses to be crushed. She watches. She learns. She plans. Those maps she draws, they're not just artwork. They're escape route. Watch her at court functions. She glides through conversations, offers perfect curtsies, says exactly what's expected. But her eyes are always scanning for exits. She's learned to read people like books. The nervous laugh that means someone's lying. The tight smile that hides cruelty. The way powerful men look through servants, as if they're furniture. Isabella sees everything, remembers everything, and trusts almost nothing, until one night, everything changes. Her father summons her to his study. The fire crackles. Heavy tapestries muffle sound, and he delivers news that stops her heart. You're to marry the king. Not a request, not a discussion. A royal decree. The old king, the one everyone whispers about. 70 years old, 3 previous wives, all dead. They say he's cold, calculating, that he uses marriage like chess pieces. Isabella's carefully built world shatters. But father, I'm nobody. Why would he? Her father's eyes are hard, unforgiving. 'Cause somebody noticed you, and now you're valuable. Valuable, not loved, not chosen, valuable. That night, Isabella burns more than her usual letter. She burns her childhood, her dreams, her belief that maybe, someday, someone would want her for herself. She stares into those flames and makes a choice. If she's going to disappear, if she's going to become just another royal wife who fades into history, she'll do it on her own terms. But what Isabella doesn't know, what she can't possibly imagine, is that across the kingdom, an old king sits in his chambers, and he's burning letters too, letters about her. Someone has been watching Isabella for months. Someone knows about her secret identity, her real name, her true parentage, and that someone has been sending reports to the palace. The king didn't choose Isabella randomly. He chose her because of who she really is, because of the blood that runs in her veins, the blood she's been hiding, the blood that makes her more valuable than any dowry. But here's what's beautiful, what's absolutely heart-stopping about this moment. Neither of them knows they're about to meet their match. She thinks she's being sacrificed. He thinks he's fulfilling a duty. But the universe has other plans. Have you ever felt invisible in a crowd? Like you could disappear and no one would notice? Drop a heart in the comments if Isabella's pain resonates with you. Because what happens next will show you that sometimes being overlooked is just preparation for being treasured. That map she's been drawing, the one with all the escape routes, she's about to discover some prisons can only be unlocked from the inside. And some cages we build for ourselves. The letters she burns every night, it's not just about hiding her identity. It's about hiding from her destiny. But destiny has a way of finding us. Even when we run, even when we hide, even when we convince ourselves we're not worth finding. Isabella is about to learn that the most dangerous thing isn't being seen for who you really are. The most dangerous thing is believing you're not worth seeing. Tomorrow she meets the king. Tomorrow everything changes. Tomorrow, the woman who learned to disappear begins learning how to be found. But first, let me show you the man waiting for her. The king who's been just as lost, just as invisible, in his own golden cave. Now meet King Edmund, the most powerful man in the realm, and the loneliest soul you'll ever encounter. 70 years old. Silver hair. Eyes like winter storms. Everyone bows when he enters. Everyone fears his word, but in the quiet moments, when the crown comes off and the court disperses, Edmund feeds a stray cat at his windowsill every single night. Can you picture this? The man who commands armies, who decides fates with a gesture, gently placing scraps of food for a creature that nobody else notices. That cat, she's the only living thing that approaches him without wanting something. Here's what breaks my heart about Edmund. He rules a kingdom, but lives like a prisoner. Golden chains are still chains. Power without connection is just elaborate loneliness. Watch him in his private chambers. The fire burns low. Shadows dance on stone walls. And Edmund writes in a leather journal. The same ritual every midnight for 30 years. What does a king write about? His fears, his regrets, the promises that shaped him, the love he lost, and the vow that keeps him from loving again. You see, Edmund wasn't always alone. Once he loved someone so deeply, it nearly destroyed his kingdom. A young queen, beautiful, passionate, impossible. She died protecting their unborn child, died because enemies used his love as a weapon against them both. In her final moments, she made him promise something. Something that's haunted him for 3 decades. Never love like this again. It makes you weak. It makes you dangerous. Rule with your mind, not your heart. And Edmund, broken, grieving, drowning in guilt, promised. He's kept that promise. 3 political marriages. 3 dutiful wives. 3 carefully orchestrated alliances. But never love. Never vulnerability. Never the soul-deep connection that once made him feel human. Until now. Something's changed. The kingdom needs an heir. The council pressures him. But deeper than duty, something in Edmund whispers that maybe it's time to risk his heart again. That's why he's chosen Isabella. But here's what's beautiful. What makes this man more than just a crown and a title. Edmund sees people, really sees them. When Isabella's name was suggested, he didn't just review her family lineage. He watched her from the shadows, through reports, in stolen moments at court functions. He saw her kindness to servants, her intelligence during political discussions, the way she sketches maps, as if planning escapes, a sadness she thinks she hides. Edmund recognizes that sadness. It mirrors his own. She's strong, he tells his advisor one night. Stronger than she knows. And she's hiding something, just like I am. What Edmund doesn't realize, what he can't possibly know, is that Isabella's secret connects to his own past. Her true identity, the one she burns evidence of every night. It's tied to promises made long before she was born. Watch this beautiful man prepare for their meeting. He dismisses servants. Practice conversations. Try to remember how to speak to someone as a man, not just as a king. His hands shake. Actually shake. When was the last time anything made the great King Edmund nervous? He looks in his mirror, sees lines carved by decades of careful control, gray hair that speaks of wisdom, but also isolation. And for the first time in 30 years, he wonders if he's forgotten how to love. What if I've become incapable? He whispers to his reflection. What if the heart I locked away has forgotten how to open? But then, he thinks of Isabella's eyes, the intelligence there, the hidden fire, the way she carries herself, like someone who's learned to be strong, because the world gave her no other choice. Maybe two broken people can teach each other how to be whole again. The journal entry he wrote that night, it's different from all the others. For the first time in decades, it mentions hope. Tomorrow I will meet her properly. Tomorrow I discover if I'm still capable of being human. God help us both, if I've forgotten how. What drives a man to live without love? Comment your theory below. Because what you're about to witness is someone remembering that beneath every crown beats a heart that wants to be known. The stray cat at his window. She trusts him. Maybe Isabella will too. Maybe two souls who've learned to survive alone can learn to thrive together. Even in power, he was starved. But tomorrow, everything changes. The king who promised never to love again is about to meet the woman who makes him want to break every vow he's ever made. Are you ready to watch these two stop hiding from life? The throne room falls silent as Isabella enters. Every eye watches. Every breath holds. This is the moment when two carefully constructed worlds are about to collide. She walks toward the throne, each step echoing against stone. Her dress rustles. Her heart hammers. But her chin stays raised. Edmund watches from his throne. This woman, she's smaller than he expected. More delicate. But the way she moves, there's steel beneath that silk. The protocol demands she bow. Kneel before the king. Submit to royal authority. Isabella stops 3 feet from the throne, looks directly into Edmund's eyes, and stays standing. The court gasps. For 5 heartbeats, neither moves. The air crackles with tension, with possibility, with the electric moment when two souls recognize each other. Edmund sees it first. The trembling in her hands that she's trying to hide, the fear beneath her defiance, the way she's prepared to face consequences for refusing to disappear. Isabella sees it too. The loneliness in those winter storm eyes. The way he sits on his throne, like it's another prison. The careful mask that slips, just for a moment, showing her the man beneath the crown. Your Majesty, she says. Her voice is steady, clear. I am Isabella. Not Lady Isabella, not your humble servant, just Isabella. Edmund leans forward slightly. The smile tugs at his lips. When was the last time someone spoke to him? Like a person instead of a position. Isabella, he repeats, testing her name, liking the sound. Tell me, why don't you bow? The courtiers tense. This could be treason. This could end badly. But Isabella takes a breath, gathers courage. She didn't know she possessed, and speaks her truth. Because, Your Majesty, I thought you might prefer to meet the woman you're considering marrying, rather than just another subject. The silence stretches. Edmund studies her face, searches for calculation, for manipulation, for the games everyone else plays. He finds honesty, raw, terrifying honesty. And what, he asks quietly, makes you think I want to meet the woman? Isabella's mask slips then, just slightly, just enough to show him the girl who burns letters every night, the girl who dreams of escape routes, the girl who's terrified of being seen and found wanting, because, she whispers, you look tired of pretending, as I am. At this moment, their carefully built walls start cracking. Edmund rises from his throne, slowly, deliberately. The court watches, mesmerized. He descends the steps, until he stands before her, eye to eye. person to person. What are you afraid of, Isabella? The question catches her off guard. Not what she expected. Not royal interrogation or political maneuvering. Just genuine curiosity about her heart. Disappearing. She answers before she can stop herself. I'm afraid of becoming invisible again. Edmund nods. Understanding floods his features. And I, he says softly, am afraid of the opposite. Of being seen and being found empty. Tell me, have you ever felt instant recognition? That moment when someone looks at you and sees the parts you try to hide. Drop your experience in the comments, because what's happening here will give you chills. Neither realize they just met their salvation and their destruction. Isabella stares at this king, this powerful man who just confessed vulnerability to a room full of nobles, who risked his reputation to speak the truth to her. Edmund stares at this woman, who refused to bow not from arrogance, but from a desperate need to be seen as herself, who answered his question with such honesty, it takes his breath away. Walk with me, he says suddenly. Not a command, an invitation. The court erupts in whispers as they leave together. This isn't protocol. This isn't how royal courtships work. But maybe that's exactly why it might work. In the garden corridor, away from watching eyes, Edmund stops beside a stone bench. The afternoon sun filters through stained glass windows, painting them both in color. That was either very brave, he says, or very foolish. Isabella looks up at him. This close, she can see the silver threading through his hair, the lines around his eyes that speak of laughter and sorrow, the way his hands, strong hands that sign death warrants and peace treaties, shake slightly when he's nervous. Maybe both, she admits. Edmund laughs then. Actually, I laugh. The sound surprises them both. When was the last time someone was honest with me about being foolish? When was the last time someone asked what I was afraid of? They look at each other, really look, and both see the same thing. Loneliness. Carefully hidden, expertly managed, but bone-deep loneliness that recognizes itself. I don't want a political marriage, Edmund says suddenly. Isabella's heart stops. What do you want? I want, he struggles with words that haven't been spoken in decades. I want to remember what it feels like to be human again. Isabella steps closer, close enough to see the gold flecks in those storm-gray eyes. And I want to feel like I matter, like I'm not just convenient. You matter, he says. The words escape before he can stop them. You matter more than you know. Something passes between them. Something fragile and terrifying and beautiful. The beginning of recognition, of possibility, of two hearts, learning to hope again. But in the shadows of the corridor, someone watches. Someone who knows secrets about them both. Someone who's been waiting for exactly this moment to destroy everything they're building. The collision happened. The walls started cracking, but neither knows their greatest test is just beginning. Are you crying? Because I am. Hit that like button if watching two souls find each other gives you hope for your own heart. What happens next will test everything they just discovered about each other. 3 weeks into their courtship, and Isabella is learning something beautiful about courage. It starts small. Edmund invites her to council meetings. Not as decoration, but as a voice. The first time she speaks, suggesting a trade route adjustment that could benefit border villages. The room falls silent. A woman, offering policy advice. Unthinkable. But Edmund leans forward. Continue. And Isabella, the woman who spent years making herself invisible, finds her voice growing stronger, more confident, more powerful. You should see her transform, Edmund wrote in his journal that night. She's like watching the sunrise. Gradual, then suddenly, everything is illuminated. But here's where it gets complicated. Isabella overhears two ladies in waiting whispering near the chapel. Their words stop her cold. Poor thing doesn't know. He only chose her because of the bloodline. Once he confirms what he suspects about her parentage, he'll have what he needs. Then, they notice her listening. Smile sweetly. Scatter like guilty sparrow. Isabella's world tilts. Bloodline? Parentage? What do they know that she does? That night, alone in her chambers, she stares at the letter she usually burns. Her real name, her true identity. The secret she's guarded for years. Suddenly, it feels less like protection and more like a weapon someone else is holding. Meanwhile, Edmund faces his own crisis. A messenger arrives from the northern border. Enemy forces gathering, threatening invasion. The council demands immediate response. Military action. Shows of strength. Your Majesty, his advisor says, this marriage, it's making you appear weak, distracted. Our enemies sense vulnerability. Edmund's jaw tightens. The old accusation. Love makes rulers weak. Love makes kingdoms fall. The promise to his dead queen echoes, rule with your mind, not your heart. But when he looks at Isabella during their evening walk, when he sees how she's blossoming into her own power, when she laughs at something he says, and the sound fills empty spaces in his chest he'd forgotten existed. How can strength feel like weakness? How can the best thing be the most dangerous thing? I won't hide her, he tells his council. I won't pretend she doesn't matter. Then you risk everything you've built. Edmund stares out his window. At the kingdom he's protected for decades. At the legacy he'll leave behind. At the stray cat, still coming to his windowsill. Still trusting him to provide. Trust. Such a fragile thing. So easy to break. Just when she thinks she can trust again, betrayal whispers near. Isabella decides to confront her fears. She finds Edmund in his study, firelight dancing across his features, as he reviews military reports. Is it true? She asks without preamble. He looks up, sees the pain in her eyes. His heart sinks. Is that true? That you chose me, because of my bloodline. That you know something about my parentage, that I don't. The silence stretches between them like a chasm. Edmund sets down his papers, rises slowly. The truth, the complicated, beautiful, terrible truth, sits heavy in the air. Yes, he says simply. Isabella staggers. Actually, I stagger. So I was right. I'm just convenient. A political necessity dressed up as... No. His voice cuts through her spiral. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. Edmund approaches carefully, like she's a wounded bird that might flee. Your mother, she wasn't just a noblewoman who abandoned you. She was my first queen's sister. The sister everyone thought died in childhood. Isabella's world tilts again, harder this time. She survived, fled, had you in secret. But Isabella, your bloodline doesn't make you convenient. It makes you legitimate. It makes you... What? It makes you the rightful heir to everything she should have inherited, including the right to refuse this marriage if you choose. The revelation hits like lightning. Isabella isn't powerless, isn't trapped, isn't just a pawn in someone else's game. She has choices. Real choices. Why didn't you tell me? Edmund's shoulders sag. Because I wanted you to choose me for me, not because of duty or bloodline or political advantage. I wanted... His voice breaks slightly. I wanted someone to want me just as Edmund, not as the king. Everything you thought you knew was wrong. Isabella stares at this man. This powerful, lonely, achingly honest man who gave her choice, who could have used her bloodline as leverage, but instead used it to free her. You're an idiot, she whispers. Edmund blinks. And what? You're an idiot if you think I need royal blood to see you as worth choosing. The space between them crackles with possibility, with truth, with the terrifying, beautiful reality of two people seeing each other clearly and choosing each other anyway. But their moment shatters as Edmund's advisor bursts in. Your Majesty. The northern forces, they're not just gathering, they're moving. And they have inside information. Someone's been feeding them intelligence about the palace, about the lady's true identity. Ice floods Edmund's veins. What? They know who she is. They know what her claim could mean. They're coming to eliminate the threat. Isabella and Edmund lock eyes. The game just changed. Their love story just became a fight for survival. His worst fear, about to come true. Someone they trusted has betrayed them both. And now, everything they're building together, everything they've discovered about themselves and each other, hangs in the balance. What would you sacrifice for love? Comment below. Because they're about to find out exactly what their connection is worth. The person she thought she knew might not exist. The safety he thought he could provide is crumbling. But sometimes crisis reveals who we really are underneath. And sometimes, when everything falls apart, that's when we discover what we're truly made of. Their greatest test is just beginning. But here's what I love about these two. They're not the same people who met 3 weeks ago. She's found her voice. He remembered his home. And together, they're about to prove that love doesn't make you weak. Love makes you fierce. Are you ready to watch them fight for each other? Because what happens next will show you exactly why this story changes everything about how we see courage. Everything they've learned about themselves is about to be tested. Hold on tight, watch them become everything they're meant to be. The attack comes at dawn. Not with swords and siege engines, but with something far more devastating. Truth, twisted. Weaponized truth, delivered by someone Isabella trusted. Her sister Margaret stands in the throne room. Beautiful, composed Margaret, with papers in her hand and poison in her smile. "Dear sister," Margaret announces to the assembled court, "let me tell you who you really are." Isabella's blood turns to ice. Edmund steps protectively closer, but it's too late. The trap is sprung. "You think you know about her bloodline?" Margaret continues, addressing the king directly. "You think you've discovered her royal heritage? How delicious. Incomplete." The words that destroyed her were simple. Margaret unfolds a document. Read aloud. "Isabella is indeed royal blood, but not legitimate, not an heir. She's the bastard daughter of your first queen's sister and your first queen's husband." The silence after, worse than any scream. The mathematics of betrayal hit like physical blows. Edmund's first wife, the love that nearly destroyed him, had been betrayed by her own sister. Isabella's mother had seduced the queen's husband. Isabella isn't just illegitimate. She's the living reminder of the betrayal that killed Edmund's first love. "The queen died in childbirth," Margaret continues mercilessly, "trying to deliver a baby that wasn't even her husband's. She died because of the stress of discovering her husband's affair, and her sister's pregnancy broke her heart completely." Edmund staggers. The woman he loved died because of Isabella's parents. The promise he made, the vow to never love again, was born from the very bloodline now standing before him. Isabella can't breathe, can't think. The secret she's been hiding isn't just about her identity. It's about being the daughter of the two people who destroyed Edmund's capacity for love. "You see," Margaret smiles, "our dear Isabella isn't just illegitimate. She's cursed. The daughter of betrayal, living proof that love destroys everything it touches. Everything you thought you knew was wrong." The courtiers whisper, stare, judge. Isabella feels herself shrinking, becoming invisible again. But this time, it's not protection. It's a shame so deep, it threatens to drown her. Edmund looks at her, really looks, and for one terrible moment, Isabella sees it. The connection is severed. The walls are rebuilding, a careful distance sliding back into place. "You knew," she whispers. "You've known all along exactly who I am." "Isabella, no. You married me because I'm connected to her. Because I'm some kind of penance. Some way to..." "What? Fix what happened? Punish yourself. Make amends to her memory." Edmund's silence. His answer enough. The person she thought she knew never existed. Isabella turns to face the court. These nobles who've watched her transformation, who've seen her find her voice, her power, her worth, now they see only scandals. Only the bastard daughter of betrayers. "You want the truth?" Isabella's voice carries across the throne room. Strong, clear, unbroken. "Here's the truth." She lifts her chin. The same gesture of defiance that first caught Edmund's attention. "I am Isabella, daughter of betrayal, yes. Bastard, yes. But I am not my parents' sins. I am not their choices. I am not a curse or a penance or a political convenience." Her voice grows stronger with each word. "I am a woman who learned to survive in a world that wanted me invisible. I am someone who found courage when everyone said I had none. Her voice cracks then, just slightly. "I am someone who was foolish enough to believe she could be loved for herself." The throne room holds its breath. Edmund takes a step toward her, but Isabella raises her hand, stops him with a look. "No, you made your choice. The moment you decided keeping secrets was more important than trusting me with truth." She turns, walk toward the great doors, each step echoing like a heartbeat. "Isabella, wait." She stops, doesn't turn around. "I need you to know," Edmund's voice breaks, "that what I feel for you, it has nothing to do with her, nothing to do with the past. It's what?" Isabella finally faces him, tears streaming, but her spine, steel straight. "It's what, Edmund? Love? 'Cause if this is love, if love means hiding the truth, if it means making someone feel like they're only valued for bloodline or political advantage or guilt." She takes a shaky breath. "Then maybe your first queen was right. Maybe love is too dangerous. Maybe it does destroy everything it touches. Has anyone ever shattered your world like this? Comment below, because what happens next will show you that sometimes devastation is preparation for transformation." Edmund watches her leave, feels 30 years of careful control crumbling. The promise he made to his dying queen, the vow to never risk his heart again, was supposed to protect him from exactly this moment. But here's what Edmund discovers. As Isabella disappears through those doors, some pain is worth the risk. Some connections are worth fighting for. Some love is worth breaking every vow you've ever made. That night, Alone in his chambers, Edmund stares at his journal, at 30 years of entries about duty, control, careful distance, at the recent pages, filled with wonder at Isabella's transformation. On his own, he picks up his quill, writes 5 words that change everything. I choose love over fear. Meanwhile, Isabella sits in her chambers, staring at the letter she burns every night, her real name, her true identity, the secret that's no longer secret. But for the first time, she doesn't burn it. Instead, she looks in her mirror, at the woman who spoke truth to an entire court, who refused to apologize for existing, who found strength even in devastation. I am Isabella, she whispers to her reflection, and I am enough, with or without royal blood, with or without his love. I am enough. The sister who betrayed her thought she was destroying Isabella's chance at happiness. But sometimes, destruction clears ground for something stronger to grow. Sometimes, the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for becoming who you were always meant to be. I'm sobbing. Please tell me you feel this too. Because tomorrow, they both have to decide. Does love mean holding on or letting go? Does courage mean fighting or walking away? The devastation is complete. The secrets are exposed. The careful walls have crumbled completely. But here's what Margaret didn't count on. What the courtiers don't understand. What even Edmund and Isabella don't realize yet. Sometimes love isn't about being perfect people, finding perfect circumstances at the perfect time. Sometimes love is about 2 broken people choosing to be brave together in an imperfect world. The question is, will they choose each other, or will fear win after all? 3 days of silence. 3 days of Ella locked in her chambers. 3 days of Edmund staring at that journal entry. I choose love over fear, and wondering if he's strong enough to mean it. Then, everything changes. The northern armies arrive, not to invade, but to offer alliance. Their leader requests an audience with the bastard princess who spoke truth to power. Word of Isabella's courage in the throne room has spread beyond the kingdom's borders. We've heard, the enemy commander says to Edmund, that you have a queen who refuses to bow, who speaks her own truth, who stands by her choices, even when they cost everything. Edmund's advisor shifts nervously. She's not queen. The marriage wasn't complete. The commander smiles. In our lands, courage makes queens, not bloodline. That night, Edmund finds Isabella in the garden. She's feeding the stray cat, the one that used to come only to his windowsill. She came to me, Isabella says softly, not looking up. I think she recognizes loneliness. Edmund sits on the stone bench. Careful distance between them. Isabella, you don't need to explain. I understand now. You loved her. You lost her. You lost her. You promised, never again. And then I appeared, daughter of the people who destroyed your first chance at happiness. You're wrong. Isabella looks up, surprised. I did love her. I did lose her. I did promise never to risk that pain again. Edmund's voice grows stronger. But Isabella, you didn't remind me of the past. You showed me a different future. He turns to face her fully. When I watch you find your voice in council, when I see you refuse to apologize for existing, when you choose honesty over safety, you don't remind me of what I lost. You show me what's possible when someone chooses to be brave. Isabella's carefully maintained composure wavers. The bloodline, it was never about guilt or penance. It was about giving you a choice, power, the right to walk away, if you decided I wasn't worth the risk. And now, Edmund takes a deep breath. 30 years of careful control, about to crumble completely. Now I'm asking you to help me break the promise that's been killing me slowly. Help me choose love over fear. Help me believe that some risks are worth taking. Finally, they're brave enough for the truth. Isabella stands, walks to where he sits, looked down into those storm-gray eyes that first saw her, really saw her. You want to know what I've learned in these 3 days of silence? Edmund nods. I learned that I don't need royal blood to be worthy of love. I don't need your kingdom to have value. I don't need anyone's permission to matter. She sits beside him, close enough to touch. But I also learned that choosing someone isn't about needing them. It's about wanting to build something beautiful together, even when it's scary, even when it might not work, even when the whole world says it's impossible. Isabella smiles then. The first real smile in days, especially then. Edmund reaches for her hand, slowly, giving her time to pull away. She doesn't. I'm terrified, he admits. Good. So am I. What if I disappoint you? What if I've forgotten how to be human? Isabella laughs. Edmund, you feed stray cats. You write in journals. You asked what I was afraid of, instead of just commanding my obedience. You're the most human, powerful person I've ever met. What if love makes me weak? What if... Isabella silences him with a kiss. Soft, brief, but devastating in its tenderness. Love doesn't make you weak, she whispers against his lips. Fear makes you weak. Isolation makes you weak. Love makes you brave enough to risk everything for something beautiful. If you believe people can change, hit like now. Edmund stands, pulls her to her feet. Then let's be brave together. He leads her back to the throne room, where courtiers still whisper, where Margaret still smirks, where the northern commander waits to see what kind of rulers they truly are. Edmund takes his place on the throne. Isabella stands beside it, not behind, not kneeling, but beside. Equal, partner, choice. I have an announcement, Edmund declares. His voice carries the authority of 3 decades, but also something new, something vulnerable, something hopeful. I have spent 30 years ruling with careful distance, protecting my heart, avoiding risk. It made me competent, but it also made me half alive. He looks at Isabella. She nods encouragement. This woman has reminded me that the greatest risk isn't loving someone. It's never allowing yourself to be fully alive. Never allowing yourself to be numb. He stands, takes Isabella's hand. She doesn't need royal blood to be my queen. She doesn't need political advantage to be worthy. She needs only to choose this life, this kingdom, this imperfect man who's finally ready to be brave. The throne room holds its breath. Isabella of house, he pauses, smiles. Isabella of her own making, will you help me rule with love instead of fear? Will you help me build something beautiful instead of just managing something safe? Or are you crying happy tears? Because I am. Isabella looks out at the court, at Margaret's shocked face, at the northern commander's approving nod, at the nobles who whispered behind her back. Then she looks at Edmund, at the man who gave her a choice, who saw her strength, who's willing to risk everything for the chance to love and be loved. Yes, she says, simply, clearly, but not because of bloodlines or politics or duty. She faces the court. I choose this because sometimes broken people can heal each other. Sometimes 2 people who learn to survive alone can learn to thrive together. Sometimes, she looks back at Edmund. Sometimes love doesn't just find us, it makes us into who we were always meant to be. This is why we fight for love. The stray cat appears at the window, watching, as if even she knows. Something beautiful is beginning. 6 months later, the same throne room, but everything has changed. Isabella sits beside Edmund during council sessions, not as decoration, but as partner. Her voice carries weight. Her ideas shape policy. Her courage has inspired a generation of young nobles to speak their truth. The northern territories have become allies, not enemies. Treaties built on respect, not fear. Margaret has learned that betrayal has consequences. Her own schemes unraveled when people realized that someone who destroys her own sister's happiness can't be trusted with anyone else's secrets. But here's what's beautiful. What gives me chills every single time. Edmund and Isabella transformed more than just themselves. They transformed an entire kingdom's understanding of what love can accomplish. Watch them in the evenings. Edmund still feeds the stray cat, but now Isabella joins him. Sometimes love multiplies the small kindnesses. He still writes in his journal, but now the entries are about hope instead of regret, about building instead of protecting, about 2 people who chose to risk everything and found everything they never knew they needed. Sometimes healing isn't quiet. It's thunder. Isabella still draws maps, but now they're not escape routes. They're expansion plans. Dreams made manifest, futures being drawn into existence. The letter she used to burn every night, she framed it. Her real name, finally something to be proud of instead of ashamed of. Sometimes love doesn't just find us, it makes us. They stand at their window now, looking out at a kingdom that's learned to value courage over convenience, truth over tradition, love over fear. Any regrets? Edmund asks. Isabella smiles. Only that we waited so long to be brave. Smash that like button if character growth gives you hope. Subscribe for love stories of transformation. Comment which moment hit you hardest. I need to know. What transformation surprised you most? The king learning to risk his heart? Isabella discovering her own power? Or maybe watching 2 broken people become whole together? Next week, another heart at war with itself. Another soul learning that the greatest victory isn't conquering others. It's conquering the fear that keeps us from becoming who we're meant to be. You beautiful souls understand that growth is messy and worth it. This community appreciates real character development, and you guys always see the beauty and transformation stories. Thank you for witnessing their journey home to themselves and to each other.